You ever get buyer's remorse? You went out and bought something, and by the time you get it home, you realize you wasted your money. Yeah. Happens to the best of us. I spent $120 at this farmhouse auction, and I got the stuff home, and I'm really questioning right now whether there's any money to be made here, or if I just threw away a lot of hard work and a lot of cash. But we'll see. We'll find out. We're doing this live on camera. I'm going to go through all the stuff and see it for the first time. And I really hope there's something shocking in there that'll get me a bit of money. But before I get on to that, of course, whenever I go out to pick up stuff from the auction, I always hit at least one thrift store on the way. And this time I really made it worth my while. I was out in Font Hill. And I found a few good things. One of them being this. This is a 10-inch record, Physiological Aspects of the Limbic System. I don't know anything about that. But this is a spoken word record for medical doctors. This is a recording of a lecture that was given at McGill University. And I looked this one up, and there's actually quite a few people on Discogs who have it on their want list, and nobody has ever sold it before. So that's a good situation. That basically means I can list it for whatever I want, and somebody's likely to buy it. So I'm going to try and get $20 out of that one. This time the records cost $1 each, so if I can actually get $20 back for that, then that'll take care of the whole thrift store deal in one shot. And this one here, Singable Songs for the Very Young by Raffi. This is an album that I've had my eye out for quite a while. I used to see this album a lot at the thrift stores, and I still do, but they're usually in pretty bad condition. But I always assumed that because I saw it so often that it wasn't really worth anything. But surprisingly, on the internet, this album actually sells for quite a bit. This one, in the condition it's in, it's not perfect, it's got a bit of writing. It should get me about $15, but the majority of the time when they turn up, they're pretty trashed because it's a kid's record, and kids really don't know how to take care of a record. So you find them with all kinds of scratches and stuff. In that condition, they're not worth anything, but now I know if I see that one in nice shape in the future, to pick it up again. And I got a couple of games, and I like these old games. We got Break Par Golf. This looks to be from, I would say, the early 60s. I don't think it actually has a date on it, but just going off the art style, I would say it's from the 60s. And it's not very interesting. This is one of those games, there were a lot of these kind of things around back then, where you don't really get a board, strictly speaking. It's just the whole bottom part of the box has the game in it, and then whatever extra pieces you need, you got some cards and a pencil, and that's about it. These were cheap when they were new. That was the whole point, so you really didn't get a whole lot of frills with them. This is probably worth about $10. It might have been worth more if it was in a little better shape and the box was less crushed. But it's mainly for the graphics that I like these old board games. I don't think it would be much fun to play. I'd rather go out for a real round of golf, and I don't even know how. But I think it'd be more fun than sitting around playing that. Here we have something more fun. This is Atomic Arcade Pinball, and this is from the 70s, the golden age of this kind of thing. This is unusual. It's, I'll show you the game here. It looks like that. And it is partially electronic, or it's battery powered, but you can actually play it without the batteries. You can still launch the ball and try and play pinball. It's definitely not as much fun as a real pinball machine, I can tell you that. But it is a good collector's piece. Any kind of electronic games, or even, you know, fake electronic games, which is pretty much what this is, they're always collectible. This one cost, well, it's got a $10 sticker, but they were half price, so this was $5. And yeah, I would think I could ask at least $25 for it at the flea market, because it's complete in the box. That should definitely be a moneymaker. And I couldn't resist visiting the book room. I usually don't buy books a whole lot, but I found a few interesting ones. There's the Colonial Advocate, which is the newspaper that was run by William Lyon Mackenzie. This is the history of that. We have the history of the British Almshouse, which one day I might need that for research. And this one looked a bit interesting. This is the, what is that? Beachhead Principle. This is about the FLQ in Quebec. So I thought that might be an interesting read. And I like the cover. You know, it's that classic 70s and 80s graphic design that you see. And on the way out of the store, I found probably the coolest of books that I've got in a while. It's The Twilight Zone and The Twilight Zone Revisited. These are something that I didn't know existed. I didn't know they ever adapted these into books. I don't know if these are actually stories that were on the show, or if they're just other kind of horror stories that were adapted. But yeah, these are 1963, and this one's probably going to be 64, and it is. Yeah, these were $2 each because these are hardcover. These would probably sell for at least $10 each, I think. But I'm going to have a hard time convincing myself to sell those, and I already know I'm not selling any of the other books. So yeah, probably not selling the pinball either, actually, now that I think about it. So that whole thrift store run might have cost me more money than it's going to make me, but at least it gave me a lot of interesting stuff. No, I almost forgot. I made one more thrift store stop. I hit another store in Welland. I found a few good records. I found Ultravox, British pressing. That's going to be a solid $5. The Best of Britain on K-Tel, which I wouldn't buy a K-Tel record on its own, but that one looks more interesting than most. So that's another $5 one. And Gone with the Wind, which there's been a bit of controversy lately. I heard that they're not going to be showing this movie on TV anymore, or on Turner Classic Movies anymore, because it's about, you know, the Old South and there's some questionable stuff in it. A lot of people are really up in arms about that. They say it's a classic movie and it's you know, it shouldn't be censored. But you know, a lot of people are confused about what censorship really means. You know, you can't stop a private company like a TV network from choosing not to show material. When you talk about censorship, you're talking about preventing them from showing it. You have to give them the freedom to prevent themselves from showing it if they don't want to. And, you know, why you want to watch a movie about the Old South and the Confederacy and the Civil War, or whatever this movie is. I don't know what Gone with the Wind is about. I haven't seen it, but if it's anything to do with that era, then why you want to watch it in the first place is beyond me. Put it on the shelf with Birth of a Nation and forget it exists. That's, yeah. Well, I guess I gotta get onto this auction stuff at some point, and I'm telling you, it's not looking good. Like I said, this stuff cost me $120. I mean, $20 out of that was just tax and buyer's premium, and that's what happens at the auction. You know, I mean, the taxes and the buyer's premium that you find at auctions always take a good chunk out of your money. But I don't even know how I got up to 100 in the first place. You know, auction fever just takes over, and you end up buying a bunch of stuff that you really shouldn't. And I got a big example of that right here, because I got a big box full of books, and these are they're not great. You know, they're really not great. A lot of these are just going to go right into the donation pile, or maybe even worse, you know, travel guides. These old kids' books are not worth anything. Old how-to books, not worth anything. Stuff like that. You're just never going to sell it. You're never going to be able to sell it. Harlequin romance novels, these are... I mean, some people actually do collect these, but they're just... They were so mass-produced, and they printed so many that I really don't think it's gonna be sellable. But with that being said, there are some interesting things in here. These are there's a lot of mystery novels here, which are kind of interesting. You know, you got The Man in Lower 10. There's Assignment in Guyana. This is great. Give 'em the Axe. Isn't that a nice cover? And stuff like that. That's a romance. I don't want that. The Black-Eyed Stranger. He turned kidnapper to prevent murder. You know, you gotta love this kind of thing. There. Beat Not the Bones. Best mystery of the year. These kind of things are collectible. This one's fallen apart, but so I'm not sure how collectible that is, but there is actually some value to these. This whole box on its own was $3, and I really don't know if I want to take the time out to try and sell these individually. I might, but only if I get really desperate to get some money back out of this lot. If I find something better in the rest of it, then I'm just going to put this whole thing on the internet for maybe $5 for the box, maybe 10 if I feel really lucky. And if nobody buys them in a few days, I know where there's a little free library in town, and I'll go fill it. Alright, well, let's keep it going. I got a lot of records. There's always records, and I really don't remember what these records cost. I think it was about $5 for the whole lot. So, I mean, that's nothing to complain about when it's a lot this big, but they're not very good. I mean, just starting right off the top, we have 101 strings play the hits of the Beatles. That's all right, but I mean, that might go for a few dollars just because of the Beatles connection, but it's not great, and honestly, I'm probably going to keep it. But most of what we have here, I wouldn't even bother to list. You know, Oliver, Tchaikovsky, Camelot, definitely not. Mantovani, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. This one would have been cool if it was in there, but it's an empty cover. I'll put that with the empty covers. I mean, some of these might be worth listing. This looks like some classical that might actually have some value, so I'll have to look it up. But Candlelight and Wine, you'll never sell that. So I'm just gonna... Well, there's something a little more interesting. It's The Sound of Time from the BBC. That's kind of interesting, but I doubt it's worth very much. Sealed Up with People, worthless. Kenny Rogers, worthless. Christmas. Yeah, this stuff is not very good. We got some junk-looking 45s. Barbara Streisand. The world's dirtiest record cleaning cloth. Gross. And yeah, there's just more. This stuff is not even worthy of the dollar bin. It's really a lot of junk. Opera. There's really only a couple here that might be half decent. This is Intergalactic Trot with Robert Mason, but this is really pretty moldy. Yeah, that's, I don't know. I think I'll probably just throw it away. And there's Rough Trade, which, if this is in decent shape, this might actually be worth $5. Yeah, that's alright. Well, at least that's the money back on the records. Probably just out of that one and the Beatles one, but the rest of them are garbage. I really don't think they're even worth trying to sell. What else have we got? We got the user manual for an Atari ST computer, which if you needed one of these, you'd have a hard time finding it. This only cost $1. It's probably worth $10 on eBay. I mean, maybe. I really don't know. But again, I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to keep it, because if I ever found one of those Atari computers, I would keep that. So I better keep the manual. Here's an unusual antique piece. This is made out of metal, and I'll bet most of you watching probably wouldn't know what this was. This is a stencil for marking the top of a barrel of wine or I don't know, pickles, whatever else you want to keep in a big wooden barrel. They would, yeah, just lay that on top. That's why it's cut this way, so it fits into the round part of the barrel. And, yeah, just paint over that, and then you got your name on the barrel. So I don't know if there's any real value to a thing like this, but I'm sure it's unusual enough that I could get $10 out of it, I hope. Not looking great so far, but it gets a little bit better here. I know what this lot is. These are 3 old scrapbooks, and scrapbooks are always interesting. If they're old enough, they are very collectible, and they can go for a lot of money. These ones in particular, I thought might actually be worth something, because these are all aviation themed, and all 3 of them. And aviation collectors are, they got a lot of money, and they are willing to spend it. There's the Messerschmitt from World War II. Yeah, interesting stuff in these, actually. These are, they're from the 1940s, and yeah, it's the problem with this kind of thing is it's really hard to put a price on it, because every one is unique. So you really can't predict what they're going to go for, but because of the theme, I would think I could probably get at least $50 for these if I put them on eBay. Of course, eBay would take a big chunk out of that with their fees, but that's desirable stuff. That's a good find for sure. Here's a bit of a mystery box. What can it be? Well, not good. Not good. Yeah, that's garbage, and unfortunately so is that. Nothing against the royal family, I just don't bother trying to sell their memorabilia because it's really not of any actual value. These are, well, these are more my style. Here's an old issue of the London Free Press from 1947, and this looks to be complete. It's got all the ads in it and everything. These old newspapers aren't worth a ton, but they are collectible. That's probably about $5. And we got some old Home and Country newspapers like this. These are from the Ontario Women's Institute. And these are the same era. They're 1946 and 47. Yeah, I really don't know. These are they're very small. How many have we got? We got 4 of them here. That should be good for $10 then. Thomas Kiefer. That's another book. That's not really going to be worth anything. Wow. Negro community greatly depleted from the days of the Underground Railroad. That's interesting. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of newspaper clippings in here. There's Old farmhouse, now almost like a fortress. It'd be pretty interesting if that was the farmhouse that the stuff came out of, but I don't think it is. We got... This is just one page of a newspaper, but these are from the Welland Tribune of 1965 and 66. Federated News from the Women's Institute from 1943. Unfortunately, these are all just clippings, and they're really not worth more than $1 a piece, so there's $5 there. Empty envelope. There's another Federated News, another $1. And there's more Federated News here. These are, well, again, another $5 worth of them there. Oh, look at that. The County of Welland. There's an old little leaflet. It's got information about all of the municipal officials that we had back then. From 1962. That was when... who was the mayor in 62? I don't know. That's an interesting find. I'm definitely not going to sell that, but I could probably get $10 if I did. The Terry Fox Canadian Youth Centre, Federated Women's Institute, little pamphlet. These are just dollar items at best. This is about the Erland Lee homestead, a letter. That's maybe another $1. And that's it. That's all that's in the box. Only thing to do is keep digging. So I got another lot here that I recognize. Here's it's a small lot of kids records. These were, I think these only cost me $1 for the whole lot, which is not a bad deal. Even though there's nothing really great here that I know of. There's Disney's Mouser size. That's probably good for $5 just because it's Disney. A couple of Winnie the Pooh albums. The first one there and the second. Again, $5 each because of the nostalgia factor. Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Happy Birthday. This one is good for $10. I looked up that one. Disney's Cinderella. Anything Disney, it can always be sold. That is not in bad shape at all. That's probably good for $10 if I put that on the internet. And The Joy of Christmas. That's not worth anything at all. Wouldn't it be something if I pulled out some one-of-a-kind, you know, the original demo of the Beatles from England or something out of that sleeve? But no, it really is The Joy of Christmas. That's that's a donation, is what that's going to be. Oh, that's one box down. On to the next. It's a plastic container. Isn't that special? It's probably worth $2 for the container, but I'm more concerned with what's inside because it's a whole bunch of old radio magazines from the 1920s. And this is when, I mean, the radio was really an impressive technology back then. Nowadays, no one pays attention to what's on the radio, but believe me, I would know. But yeah, this is interesting stuff. Look at, what do we have going on here? This guy, yeah, I'm really not sure what's going on here. I think they're sort of forecasting the future here, that one day you're going to have this electronic device where you'll be able to communicate with somebody who's not there, and you can see, you know, you can see her picture. You know, wouldn't it be amazing if we invented something like that one day? I don't know. Yeah, it's even talking about it in here, radio television. He says, I'm frequently asked this question: what, in your opinion, will be the next great development in radio? And to this question I always answer that the next and most logical step will be the establishment of television, or the power to see objects at any distance through the same medium by which we're now entitled to hear sounds by radio. So yeah, this is wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, I mean, they were right on with that one. It really happened. But these are, I'm sure these magazines are worth, I mean, they really should be worth $5 each, but I'm gonna count them up at a bit less than that. Uh-oh, there's the kid destroyed Daddy's radio set there. This guy is broadcasting to the fish underwater. These are great. These the covers on these are really interesting. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of them are missing the covers, and yeah, I'm getting a bit distracted because there's other stuff in here. But we got, I don't know, $10 worth of magazines there, and this is an antique radio magazine, so this is new. There's some cool stuff pictured in here, but that's $2 maybe. We have some Radio Digest Programs Illustrated newspapers, or well, not exactly news, but you know what I mean. 1925. These are a bit better. These are probably worth $5 each, and I got 3 of them. And what else have we got? Correspondence blank. Oh, this is a student's school book. Probably for practicing cursive writing, it looks like. From, wow, 1909 this is dated. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's just for practice, or are these actually, you know, this might be some kind of dictation that somebody had to take down. But yeah, that's the sort of thing that, even though it can be interesting historically, it's really not of a whole lot of monetary value. It might be worth $2. Artist's music dictation book. It's blank. Not that it would be worth... No, it's not entirely blank. But it really doesn't affect the value whether it's written in or not. So that's probably another $2. It's nothing to get excited over. We have something folded up. It looks like some accounting schoolwork. That's not worth anything. And this is, yeah, these are day books. This is more accounting from math class back then, before it was done on a computer. Yeah, these are really old. I mean, you got 1889 dates in here. If these are actually from 1889, they might be $5 each, but they're not going to make me a fortune, that's for sure. This stuff is not going to be an easy sell, you know. You have to keep that in mind, that just because something is worth $5 or $10, you know, it doesn't mean I can sell it for that tomorrow. This is a lot of stuff that's going to sit around for a long time, especially the paper. And yeah, I can't say I'm overly impressed with it, but keep rolling along. At least we got some non-paper stuff, but it's not exactly the kind I like. There's some old china. That's Steubenville. I don't know anything about that brand. It's really not my kind of thing, but I might look that up. It might be worth a couple dollars. Probably gonna end up being given away. This is a pretty nice piece, but unfortunately it has a big chip out of it somewhere there. This is it's a German-made piece, and these were later, they were imitated in Japan. It's probably from the 1930s or 1940s, if this actually is original. But yeah, because of the chip, that's just going to go straight in my donation pile. Might as well get this one out of the way. This is a nice old lantern. This is a beacon lantern, specifically. These are collectible. They have a lot of nostalgic value to people who grew up on the farm. You know, you'd have these around. This one is in nice shape as far as they come. It's the paint is mostly all there. And most importantly, the glass is intact when often it's cracked or broken out entirely. So even though it's dirty, it doesn't look very nice right now, I can clean this up and get it shiny again. And I can probably get $40 for this. If it cleans up as nicely as I'm hoping it will. But I think I paid $14 for that lot that had the lantern on its own. So we should do all right with that. And here, we don't have Grandma's recipes, although it looks like it. We actually have a postcard collection that I think these were about $12 that I paid for this whole thing. And there is some very interesting stuff in here. I had a quick flip through and I put some good stuff out that I wanted to show. This is the First World War, a training camp for a Canadian regiment. We have the Hamilton Courthouse, nice hand-colored image. The Blackfeet tribe, Blackfoot Indian Braves, it says, but you know, I wouldn't say that. Those weren't my words. Search for Paradise movie promotion. This one is not a postcard. This is just a picture of a really full parking lot. Easter morning at the Hollywood Bowl. So that's kind of neat. There's correspondence from the steamer. This is the... well, it's either the Concorde or the Lexington, because it's got both names there. That's some kind of folded letter. Christmas postcard, early use of Santa Claus. This is... there's an interesting kind of image for you of some fingernails. Scenes of the Southern California earthquake. That's a unique find. Ruins of City Hall. You know, they fold out. You've probably seen these in an old movie. And yeah, that's just a sampling of the kind of stuff that's in here, but I usually don't buy postcards because I don't get a lot of money back out of them. Look at that. Hot Dog Tom from Aurelia. Who would put that on a postcard? But yeah, I typically wouldn't buy these, but this lot is much better than your average collection of postcards. So I think there's probably at least $50 worth in here if I put them on eBay. If they were newer, if they were the 70s and 80s postcards that you normally find, I would be lucky to get $5 for the whole box. But because of the age and the subject matter, there is good stuff in there for sure. Right, well, we're down to the last box, and I've yet to find anything really great, even though I think I got my money back out of this stuff. I haven't found the exciting item that I'm looking for. But we'll see if it's here. We got a pipe. This thing is really dirty. I mean, it needs a serious cleaning. But, man, it's got to be worth at least $10, I would think. I don't know. I mean, how often do you see them for sale, right? I don't see them very often. Here's a decent piece. This is Miramar pottery from California, and this is from the 1960s, most likely. This is pretty gross, with like years of bacon grease from being sat in somebody's kitchen, I think. But this is not a bad piece. I usually don't buy pottery or china or glassware or anything like that, but when you get the right pieces, they can have some collector value. And there is a collector following for this maker. I don't know exactly what it's going to be worth, but I would put it on eBay for $20 and might get that out of it, I think. It's pretty unique, so who knows. And we got a bunch more paper. Oh no, wait, no, we have yeah, we have an egg cup and we have a tiny teacup. Donation box. And now we have a bunch of paper. We, oh, the original Fun with Dick and Jane. Wow, that's quite a sight. It's not worth anything, but that's iconic pop culture, isn't it? Yeah. This. Oh wow. Well, there you go. The Jolly Chinese. That's something you would not get away with today. I don't even know if I'm going to get away with putting this in the video, but I actually know what this is. This is it's a children's storybook from 1901, and most of the stories don't have anything to do with the cover, and that was pretty common with kids' books in this era, that they had these very nice cover illustrations that were very colorful, but on the inside it's mostly just black and white plain text and engravings. This actually looks to be the title story here, A Chinese Adventure. Wow, I can't even read the first sentence of this on camera. That is seriously bad. But most of them are actually about animals and things like that. So yeah, but I mean, like I said, I actually know about this one in particular. This is not a common find. This is about $70 to $80 on the internet if you were trying to buy a copy of this book. But I'm not going to sell it. I do have a historical interest in these these racially insensitive depictions. I mean, most commonly it's black people that you would see depicted in these kind of items. There's a whole category of collectibles that is called Black Americana, which I think is a really overly delicate way of putting it, because what you're talking about is the classic stereotypes of the mammy and the pickaninny as they're depicted on signs, on book covers, on product packaging from the 1900s. It's, I mean, to say Black Americana, I think the term really implies that it actually has some kind of connection to Black American culture, which it doesn't. But so I'm not a big fan of the term. But the actual items themselves, I think, are very important. I know I had some harsh words earlier about Gone with the Wind, but and that maybe we should just put it on a shelf and forget about it. But the truth is, I think with items like these, I really think it would be a disservice to history to forget that these existed and to bury them. I think there's a real need for these sort of things to be displayed in museums and on the internet, and for the public to see, because if we bury these kind of things and just say that it might as well have never happened, then I think that really is just as bad as continuing to produce them or to support the ideology behind it. I think you have to own up to it. As in Western society, we need to admit that this is part of the past. This is part of the history of our Western countries, and the only way to really move forward is to acknowledge the past. So I have an interest in preserving things like that, and maybe one day I'll show some of the other kind of examples that I have, but I doubt most people want to see them. Yeah, that's actually a pretty rare and valuable find, but because I'm not going to sell it, it's not going to help me make any money. We have the Sunbonnet Babies primer. That's interesting. I mean, it's what you expect, a primer. It's just stuff for early readers. Yeah, there's really nothing too interesting in here. I mean, this is from 1930, and there's nothing about this that couldn't be made today. So, I don't know, it might be worth a couple dollars. Old books, for the most part, are actually not worth anything unless the subject matter itself is of interest. when you're talking about old kids' books, or the worst are any kind of educational texts, like textbooks is the word I was trying to think of. About you find old science books from the 1930s, or accounting, business, whatever. They're worthless. They have not appreciated. They don't have any collector value. They've just become outdated and obsolete. So you don't want to find things like that. Wow, this is interesting. This appears to be actually a handmade book that was done as a, it says 10A, so I'm guessing that's a 10th. Well, that wouldn't be a 10th grade project, would it? This is from Wellentine Vocational School, 1942. And this is Animals Are Human Too. This book is dedicated to every person who loves dumb animals, it says. Copyright 1941, 1942. Okay. Huh. So what they've done, what this student has done here, is they've copied the text of a Reader's Digest article, and they've turned it into a little book, and they have added, these are little hand-drawn stickers with illustrations in order to start the paragraph, sort of in the style of an illuminated manuscript. That's a really interesting find. I mean, it certainly is the only one that would exist. I don't know really how to put a price on that. But I don't really need to put a price on it anyway, because I'm not going to sell it. But that's really unusual, actually. That and the Jolly Chinese, between the two of them, that really makes the whole thing worthwhile for me. That's the kind of unusual items that I'm after. All right, we'll keep digging in the box. Maybe there's more surprises to be found in here. Folded up papers. Science. In summer, you would look to the northeast for the rising sun. Oh boy, I had to do this in astrology, or astronomy rather, not astrology. That's a different subject. The when you would have a lunar eclipse and stuff like that. Wow, that's not worth anything, but it's amazing to see that we haven't come up with anything better to teach to kids than what the moon phases are. Ontario Public School Geography. Now, I was just saying that educational books and textbooks from the past are not worth anything. These are a bit of an exception. These public school books, these are not incredibly valuable, but they are collectible. A lot of people really like these. I'm not exactly sure why, but I assume there is a bit of a nostalgia factor to it. This is from the 1930s. It's dated 1937, but so the people that are buying these today don't have memories of actually going to school and studying out of this, but anybody who has been to a heritage village or any sort of a living museum has certainly seen one of these in the schoolhouse. So it's a really iconic image of Ontario history that these books are part of. So that should go for $5 on the internet, I think, just to somebody who wants an example of one. Carry me back to old Virginia. There you go. There's some nice plantation art for you. And on the other side, it's the beach. The all-white beach. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, I'm guessing this is a promotional pamphlet. Yeah, that's what it is. Or a souvenir. Yeah, that might be worth $2. There's really no particular value to a thing like that. This appears to be another royal item of some kind. Yeah, this is about Queen Elizabeth II. It really is amazing how long she's been on the throne, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about the days of black and white TV, and and stuff like that. You know, God save the Queen. You know, we need leaders like that in the world, not like you know who next door. We have a souvenir booklet from the caverns of Luray. Oh wow, this is a lot. Wow, that looks like it could have been made yesterday. That's not the kind of style that I was expecting. I mean, the back doesn't quite look like yesterday. If you look at those outfits the ladies are wearing, you don't see anybody dressing like that now. These are, yeah, these are pretty interesting. But again, it's really not worth anything, anything more than $1 or $2 as a piece of ephemera. And there's more of the same kind of stuff. This looks like a bit of promotional stuff for different places. Souvenir of condensed history of New Orleans. Yeah, that's that'll be a bit outdated now. It's missing the thing that people probably think of about New Orleans the most. The nice find. The Robert E. Lee Memorial. That'll be burned down soon at any rate, if things keep going the way they're going. And we have Antoine's Centennial? Antoine's Centennial? Oh, it's a restaurant menu from New Orleans again. Let's see what we can get. This is all in French. What have we got? Is there anything here that I recognize? Well, an omelet, 60 cents. Grilled chicken, $1.75. What else? Something expensive. Gotta get something expensive. Yeah, I really don't know what most of these things are. You can get a Chateaubriand, 30 minutes, $7. I don't know what that is, but you'd be pretty classy if you were ordering that for $7 back in 1940. That's a lot of money. The Farmer at His Work. Man, I just love this old stuff. I mean, it seems so archaic, the kind of stuff that was published back then. MCMX 1933. Yeah, that's, I don't know, $2. I'm not sure what these are. These look... Oh, these are from the school exams. These are your exam sheets from 1952. These are the questions. Let's see. English literature. Would you pass the exam? We have name a leading female character in a play by Shakespeare, and briefly describe one scene or situation in which she plays a leading part, as well as stating clearly the dramatic purpose of the scene or situation. Good luck. Hope you like Shakespeare. Man, school has not changed in 70 years, has it? It's still the same thing. And what does your handwriting reveal? Exhibition shows. Well, that's interesting because somebody has filled it out with what the person's handwriting reveals, but we don't have the sample of handwriting, and we don't have how they determined what it reveals. But this person was hopeful, gentle, peace-loving, friendly, fond of eating, and too affectionate. Could be mine. The St. Catherine's Standard Centennial Edition. Pretty common to find these centennial papers, and this is not in very nice shape. $5. I don't have too much interesting to say about that, unfortunately. Here's the St. Catherine's Centennial Cookbook. Again, $5 as a piece of local history, but nothing that's going to knock your socks off. There's one postcard. Might be worth $1. I've just spotted something interesting in there that might be worth a good chunk of change if it lives up to its name. But this is from the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. Again, that might be a couple of dollars only. But what I spotted, it's an autograph book. And if you can find one of these that has the right autographs in it, then you really could be talking about a lot of money. This looks to be... yeah, this is not going to make a whole lot of money, but it is interesting. It actually seemed to be a pretty common practice back then, because I've had quite a few of these. What they've done is they've gone to their family members and people in the neighborhood, and they've got the person to write a short poem and then sign it. So we have, yeah, here we go. Dear Marion, flowers may wither and flowers will die. Friends will forget you, but never will I. Mary Colometz, May 12, 1947. That was, yeah, that was used as a lyric by Sundar Popo in, what was the name of that song? Don't Fall in Love? Old chutney song from Trinidad. Yeah, it's just a classic piece of poetry that was sort of iconic. They used to include it in the British colonial school primers. Used to have that in them. So those chutney artists, chutney is East Indian music from the Caribbean. When they used to sing in English, they would bring in a lot of those poems that came out of the school books and just sort of use them as lyric filler. So yeah, I recognize that. Dear Marion, remember well and bear in mind, a constant friend is hard to find. So when you find one kind and true, change not the old one anew. Well, that's not very good, is it? But yeah, these are interesting to read. You do find some interesting stuff in these, so that's a neat find. It's probably worth about $10 just for the uniqueness of it. But man, if we could have had Clark Gable's autograph or something in there, then we really could have been talking about some money. And then the last thing, we got a couple more scrapbooks. These ones I remember from the bidding. These are not aviation themed like the other ones are. These were listed as royalty themed, which this one is not at all. This is actually quite a bit better than that. This is all about a person's high school. We have a program from 1952 from the school play, list of cheers. I'm not going to read out the cheers. Stanford Collegiate promotion results. Yeah, this is all, we got newspaper clippings, and then we have things like these, convocation invitations and stuff like that. Say that 5 times fast. Convocation invitation. Here's the graduation book. Well, that's not a bad find. That's look at that. Stanford Collegiate Cadet Corps inspection, and that's all hand-drawn. That's a great little illustration there. And some newspaper clippings. Yeah, that's probably another $20. These scrapbooks really are collectible. They have good value. And let's see what's in the other one. It's the same cover. I think this has gotten wet. It says Styles Through the Ages from Elizabeth on. So this may be the royalty one, or no, I wouldn't say so. Yeah, pretty neat stuff in this scrapbook. Here's a medieval look, it says. It looks more like the Addams Family to me, but maybe a few years too early for that. Man as he expects to be. Oh, look at that. Wow, that's this is, it says, man as he expects to be, warned what would happen if women got the vote. and you've got the man sitting on the porch doing some sewing while the women are out driving and she's going for a walk. This guy's doing laundry. Yeah, that's what happens if you give your women too much freedom. Sure. Man. And this top one is interesting too. In this, it says a girl marries a drunkard, and the result makes Cupid cry. And we've got 1 year later. She's all happy on her wedding day, and 1 year later she's got the crying baby under her arm. She's ironing with the other hand, and she looks all haggard, and the man is nowhere to be found. I wonder where those came from. I mean, who would even want to... Why would you even print that? But that's great. That's the kind of stuff that you find in these... Yeah, that's interesting. That's a find. There's nothing royalty about it, but I'm really... Oh, I spoke too soon. There's some royalty for you. But, yeah, I'm happier with those being what they are than if it was all coronation of Elizabeth and stuff like that, which is what I really thought it would be, because there are a lot of scrapbooks out there that have to do with that. So that's a good find. That's another $20, I would think. And the last thing in the bottom of the box, Kirby hooks. It's never over till it's over. You know, that could have been a little baggie full of gold coins or a baggie full of something else. But that's it. So, yeah, you know what? My buyer's remorse is gone. That's a good lot of stuff. I paid a little bit more for it than I usually would have, but there's definitely some good things in here. There's a lot of cool stuff. Problem is, I don't think I'm going to sell most of it. You know what? It's worth it. To get some unique stuff in the collection, it's always worth spending a bit of money.